Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We have quite a packed day, so it's better we give it a start, not to have big delays. Before we jump into introducing the project and why are we here, I want to bring Angela. There we are. That's better. It's not nice to hear your own voice. Okay. Angela, please. She's the CEO of Submariner and is pro, and she will welcome us all.
Thanks, Mariana. And yeah, welcome to this very special event, I would say. Normally, we have conferences where we talk about algae, multi-use, shipping, ports, details of mussels, etc., etc. But over the next 1.5 days, we do not want to dig into the details of algae species and how we can promote them, but what is the role of women in the blue economy? And how can we sort of build our capacities? How can we sort of do things better? How can we get a better gender mix also in the blue economy? I've not prepared any slides. We actually, yesterday in the train, I was sort of saying to Mariana, well, have we sort of any kind of presentation of what ESPRO is, what Submariner is? And then she said, well, everybody in the room will know, but I'm not so sure. So just to give you a bit of a glimpse of what is ESPRO, what is Submariner. So ESPRO is a consultancy. We are managing international projects, programs, studies, and originally we started off with sustainability, so everything to do with sustainable issues. But more and more we ended up in the niche of the blue economy. Probably I was at the right place at the right time, and I was sort of starting with maritime spatial planning when it was not even called maritime spatial planning, when there was no directive, etc. And maritime spatial planning is very much about coordination, and I do have an MBA, so it was sort of quite helpful that I knew how to manage and coordinate cross-sectoral processes, etc. ESPRO is existing now for 21 years, so I think that's already for a company also a success story. And yeah, and mainly we are sort of implementing large-scale EU service contracts, which are also very competitive, but we manage the MSP platform. We manage now the EU Algae Initiative. We do studies for the Commission. We did the Blue Economy study for the Baltic. We did the algae industry study now for the Commission, and we have recently completed the study for the German government on how to introduce multi-use in German offshore areas. And yeah, that's ESPRO. And at the same time, there is Submariner. Submariner was originally a project managed by ESPRO, and I think that's also, a success story that we managed to get the transition from a project to really an institution, a European economic interest grouping, a pan-Baltic network with members from all Baltic countries. And we have been now existing for 15 years. And we have raised over this course of these last 10 years 250 million euro in 60 projects. So it's quite a large entity without any kind of really top-down support. So we always sort of bring up sort of the projects ourselves. And of course, there was a bit of a game changer 3 years ago when we actually also got the file that we are by now, and we will also continue to do so for the next 4 years, to coordinate the so-called EU mission Oceans and Waters. We are coordinating its implementation here in the Baltic and the North Sea. And yeah, and now sort of for what was also a nice development is that I'm proud that in next month we will actually launch our first own funding program. So we actually received 9 million euro, where they are in our hands, and we can sort of distribute them, of course, in a transparent and fair way, for projects in the field of innovative, sustainable uses of the which are improving the blue economy as well as the environment at the same time. So that's all about ESPRO and Submarina, and you can, of course, ask me over the course of the next 1.5 days' time what this is all about, whether you can also become a member, and perhaps we can also, as a result of these 1.5 days' time, sort of create our specific own community within Submarina, which is sort of, the women community. So these are the professional facts. But I thought, well, obviously I'm a woman, and therefore I thought that I may also give you a bit of personal details about my journey into the blue economy, and yeah, what drove me, what are perhaps sort of the special pinpoints. And I have to admit, at first, when Mariana was sort of introducing this project to me, I was sort of a bit doubtful, because I actually really promote diversity, and not only gender diversity. In our secretariat, with by now 40 people, I think we have 23 different nationalities. We have all types of cultures, all types of religions, non-religion, people with children, with no children, various sexual orientations, handicapped, etc. So I think this is also diversities from all kinds of sectors, etc. So it's not only about gender diversity, but in the end, then I thought, yes, but what is sort of, special about women? And I think it's not so much about perhaps competences, but well, I mean, I see here many women in the room, so I think we are all familiar that we go through a monthly rhythm. Very often we have also the kids. And, for those who are getting older, we also go through a thing which is called menopause, which is also sort of, a special thing about women, and which we have to take into account. So some facts about myself, because yes, it's the professional success story, but there is, of course, also ups and downs in between. I'm 57. I studied economics, modern history, European studies, and I think what was really special for me that I did an MBA, and I have 4 kids, and I founded ESPRO when my first 2 kids were really small. And perhaps this is also special. I probably founded it. I cannot really later on very much talk about how it is for women making a career in a big institution, because I'm obviously an entrepreneur. And perhaps that was also sort of a way of getting out, that, I left the company I was working for because it was too rigid. And being an own entrepreneur gave me the freedom that I could choose an office, which was just simply 150 meters away from my home. At that time, there was a lot of travel. We had to work in the office. There was no home office, etc. But I arranged it with the father of my kids that he would be in Berlin. That was the arrangement. He would always stay in Berlin. He was working, but he would not have any travel. I would not have to ask him, can I go on a business trip, etc. He was there, and we had also a lot of help. But it was quite a new concept. I did not really have any kind of role model on how to do this. There were, my friends, they were around, and they were at home with their kids, and sometimes I would also envy them. But now in retrospect, of course, I'm happy that I chose this path because I think it's also quite interesting for my kids to see, and I have a good relationship with my kids, that they are proud of their mom, that I'm sort of running a sustainable company and that I can do my own thing. So it was at that time a new concept, and with the coming 1.5 days time, my hope is that we can make it easier in the coming years. I think there are a lot of opportunities also provided by innovation, that we have home office, etc. I think there is also new movement with our fathers, with the fathers of our kids, and how we can organize that. So that is what I would sort of hope for the coming 1.5 days, that we can sort of explore that even further. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And on top of all that, she's also part of the advisory board member for WIN-BIG. So that's why we're also having her here. Okay. This, of course, it's not working. Let me see if I do this. Okay, this helps. Great. So why WIN-BIG? The idea of this project was born a couple of years ago, and it was Elena, who we have here, the coordinator from University of Aveiro, that we were discussing the importance of this topic. We brought together 14 partners from across Europe, and internet. Okay, sorry about that. There it is. We are from all across Europe. We have a stakeholder network, an advisory board member network, a mentors network, and together we cover really the whole continent. We are focusing on the 6 EU sea basins, but specifically on 3 sectors: marine renewable energies and robotics, blue biotechnology, and sustainable tourism and blue sport. And what we want to do with this project is to address the gender imbalance in the blue economy, and also work on capacity building in these sea basins. So the main reason when we put together this project was, okay, we knew that the blue economy was or is still a male-dominated sector. And this is almost in all the old established sectors like fisheries and so on, but also in the new sectors. Women, we make only 29% of the workforce. And not only we are the small group, but we also have the lowest paid, least protected, and lowest status position. So we don't get too easily to the top positions. And this is from the data that we have collected and that we all know about, but also we notice there is a big data gap in different sectors. So that's from what we know, but there's also a big chunk that we don't know. So we thought, okay, we also need to cover that part and to try to collect data as much as possible. It's been 1 year that we've been having a survey EU-wide. Probably you saw it in the second email from this event that we sent you. If you haven't replied to that, it would be super helpful, but we will present data on the Baltic later on. And well, we saw, okay, there is a need for mainstreaming gender equality into policies, into legislation, into really promoting opportunities of employment for women, and to, at some point, ensure a gender equal, sustainable blue economy. So to whom are we doing all this? Obviously women in all sectors, in all levels of careers, but also men. We think men are important here and important to bring to the talk because they can play as allies. They are at the top position, so they should be having these discussions with us, helping us climb the ladder. And well, obviously then clusters and associations, policy, blue economy sectors, public and youth, and academia. So it's kind of a ambitious, ambitious audience. Yeah. And so as for our objectives, it was first to map and report on that data gap that I was mentioning. So really to get all the information from all the other sectors. And there is a big publication coming on that soon. And we will have today by Hasmik the insights for the Baltic. Identify what are the capacity building needs. So what could be the tools that help these women and all of us gain some horizontal skills that could help us all in our different career paths. And that's where the learning labs in the different Sea Basin events come into play. And we will develop some MOOCs to publish and to get to a wider group of women. This is related to the tailored training and the mentoring and networking for women. So we have a whole network of mentors. Some of those mentors are here present. And we are trying to pair them up with women that need, for example, I don't know, have an idea and they don't know how to work it further and it's focused on bioproducts. Okay, we have a woman that a mentor that can help them cross that path. It can be on filmmaking. It can be on on many other topics. So if you know someone that is needing a mentor, we have a big network of mentors. Just put them in touch with us, and we will happily do the match. Knowledge sharing and networking, that's happening through these events. This is the second out of 3 events. We're doing one per sea basin, Mediterranean, Baltic, and then Atlantic. And best practices exchange. Yeah, so that's the whole thing we want to create. We will also create a roadmap. This is coming out of the advisory members, out of the mentors, out of all of you, to really say, okay, what is needed, where we should be going after this. This I mentioned before. We have a pop-up exhibition that you can see 10 of our portraits here. This is our campaign for Women Ocean Champions. And what we want to create with this exhibition that will later become a book of 100 inspiring stories from women in different sectors of the blue economy is to inspire others. And the stories that are told in each of these posters and that you will see in the book are incredibly not only inspiring, but touching. So you can read about the difficulties women have been going through. And it's an easy way to really relate and for others to really see, okay, if others made it or if they also struggled with this, and really to kind of embrace women, through this book that we will publish next year. And then also Women at Sea documentary, if you remember from the program. Tonight, it's more in the afternoon. In the afternoon, we're having the screening of Women from the Sea. We have Raquel, the filmmaker, here with us. And she is making this series of women from the sea, the relation they have with the water. And it's going to be a series of episodes, and one of them will be focused on WIN-BIG. So we're very happy about that. And what we expect to achieve, and this project is coming to an end next year, is to have the gender data, career opportunities, have a bit of access to policy influence, hopefully, and we'll have visibility and push for women in the sectors. So if some of you would like to be part of this book, we are still collecting some stories. We have we're almost reaching the the target, but we would be super happy to have you. You just need to access there, fill the form to tell us your story. It's quite well structured, and then we will do the editing and the beautiful portraits our designer is working on. And yeah, you have still some time to be part of this. And yeah, this was the exhibition from the Mediterranean event. That's how the book will look like. And I invite you to, during lunchtime or a break, to really read the 10 stories we have here that are magnificent. And with that, yeah, you can also check out our website, follow us on the different social media, and just get closer to us. So thank you. And I will now pass the microphone to Hasmik, who will give us now an insight of WIN-BIG in the Baltic. So Hasmik, please.
No worries. Okay. Hello, everyone. Yeah. So it's a pleasure to speak today about our survey results. It's a WIN-BIG survey that measures gender equality in the EU basins, and I will speak about both the data that we managed to gather in the Baltic Sea basin and a bit about the information of the total sample. And I will also first introduce the labor force in the Baltic Sea countries. Okay, yeah. So this is the blue economy industries. We used the European Union division of the sectors and made some minor changes as well. You can see, for example, living resources that include seafood processing, sea fisheries, aquaculture. Then we kept blue biotechnology as a distinct emerging sector. Then coastal tourism that has the marine accommodation, beverages, and food operating on the coastline, and blue sports, marine renewable energy, and other sectors related to research. And if we look at the percentage of females of the workforce by each sector, you can see that in engineering and technology, in ports and shipping, and marine renewable energy, the percentage of female employees is lower compared to, for example, research and education or public administration. I have also added the sample, the number of the workforce for each Baltic states, and you can see that Germany has the highest number of employees in the blue economy, followed by Poland, Sweden. And this data, there is a lack of data, especially gendered statistics, so it was challenging to collect information, but we consulted the European Union Blue Economy Observatory, Eurostat, and we generated marine share of the workforce and also generated proxies to estimate the percentage of females. And here is the methodology for the WIN-BIG survey. We launched it on the 8th of March 2024. It was open until the end of May of this year. It was translated into 7 languages, and we disseminated it via email, via social media, press, and also during the events in person. And the goal was to collect information about the status of females in the EU blue economy sectors and understand what kind of capacity needs women face. And in total, we have 1,074 responses across the EU sea basins, and 134 responses are from the Baltic countries. And this is the structure of the survey. 7 sections, and the first one asked the employees about their industry where they work, about their firm size, about type of organization. The second section was about their contract type, their position, flexibility of work and culture at workplace. And then we also asked questions about gender discrimination, harassment. And section 4 was about the availability of opportunities, about availability of training and mentorship. Then next section covered questions related to gender policies, whether the organization have female managers, role models, and policies that would address gender issues. And section 6 was directed directly to only to female respondents, and we wanted to know whether they are treated the same way as their male colleagues. And the last section covered demographic questions about age, marital status, education. And this is for the Baltic Sea, the sample that we have by the sector. We have a large share of responses in ports and shipping in research-related sectors, but also in blue bioeconomy. And then we have a very small sample in coastal tourism, or no, in coastal tourism it's just one response. So, but we have very small sample in marine renewable energy and also in living resources. And next slides are already the weighted we used post-ratification weights. So I talked about the labor force. We used this data per gender and generated the weights by country, industry, and the labor force in order to have a more representative sample. And in Baltic Sea, we have 57% of respondents who are female employees. And if we look at the total sample, the gender breakdown is equal. And 30% of the respondents in the Baltic Sea countries occupied top and middle management positions. And more than half of the respondents were highly educated. They had either PhD or a master's degree. And if we look at the gender breakdown across the levels that they occupy, you can see that females occupy a lower ladder of the career, and there are a higher number of male respondents in executive positions and middle management. And this is the breakdown of the gender across the sectors. In the Baltic Sea, we have higher number of females in blue in living resources, equal distribution in blue bioeconomy, high number of females in public administration. In total sample, we still have a higher number of male respondents in engineering and tech, marine renewable energy, for ports and shipping. And the next questions are directly about discrimination and opportunities. So one statement said, I have experienced gender discrimination at my workplace, and they could choose yes, no, or prefer not to say. And in Baltic Sea, in blue bioeconomy, you can see 14% of employees said they have experienced gender discrimination. And it's an emerging sector, but we can see that pattern from the traditional sectors like ports and shipping, for example, as well. They have a high percentage of response that they have experienced gender discrimination. And if we look at the total sample, here we managed to have respondents from engineering and tech, and the percentage of negative response is quite high. It's 42% who said they have experienced gender. Yeah. This is total. It covers both men and women. This graph is Baltic Sea, and this graph is the total. On average, about 20% of respondents in total said they have experienced gender discrimination, and higher percentages among females. Among men, I think it was about 6% who said they have experienced. So among females, it's a higher percentage. Yeah, and this is about the barriers. So we asked, do barriers exist preventing women being promoted to senior positions in your firm organization, and in the Baltic Sea, in blue bioeconomy, 25% said that yes, there are barriers, and the percentage is high in ports and shipping as well. And next slide is about opportunities. We said I have access to the opportunities I need to support my career aspirations. And here they could choose from a Likert scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree options, and we merged neither agree nor disagree and disagree options together as negative answers. And in blue bioeconomy, it is 7% of negative responses, but in ports and shipping, in living resources, for example, it's quite high. And to conclude, the main message is that on average, about 20-25% of respondents still feel that they are discriminated. And it's we can see it in traditional sectors, in tech-related sectors. But here the fear is that these historical patterns may be visible in emergent sector as well. And then about the barriers again in traditional sectors, 22% of respondents said that there are barriers. And although in blue bioeconomy we had a bit of positive picture about the question on availability of opportunities, still when it comes to the barriers, they said 20% said that yes, there are barriers for women to climb their career ladder. Yeah, I think this is it from my side, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Yes, please, exactly.
Thank you. My name is Cornelia Naun from Mundus Maris, and I was just wondering whether from this interesting survey you have been in touch with statistical offices across across Europe to see to which extent they can integrate some of those questions into their, let's say, regular work, because it's a huge effort to do it as a project. And then the sustainability to monitor trends and so on requires an institutional support. So I know that the FAO, for example, pushes a lot of countries to have gender discrimination in their statistical questionnaires, but it's very slow to pick up. And I'm just wondering what experiences you may have had in this respect. Thank you.
Think the project itself has a component of awareness raising. So it's through newsletters and also during meetings. We have not met directly with national statistics, but during events, and also Helena Vier and other partner representatives you have met with different types of organizations to spread the word and to brief them about the situation and the survey itself. And the survey was open for a year, so we really encouraged employees to answer, but it is not a mandatory survey at the moment. We would like, of course, it to be embedded, and even with labor force collection data about women, we are in touch with the EU Blue Economy Observatory. We want to see that on the website, the numbers of females. Yeah, but it's a good point that countries should embed that. And I see Helena wants.
Just to add that one of the reasons why this call was open and WIN-BIG was funded was precisely that the Commission wanted to have access to this data. So this is, as Asmik very well said, it is not a mandatory survey. It is still out there and it can collect answers if needed. But the idea now is that we already were featured in the Blue Economy report of 2024, if I'm not mistaken, five. And now we are going to start discussions with the DG Mare and EU Blue Economy Observatory to see two things. One is this breakdown that the Galway team actually did. This was a lot of work, and it's data based on official data, so it can be there now. But also that the survey that we have going on somehow feeds the dynamic observatory data. So this is something that we will discuss now with the team. But it's not part of WIN-BIG. This is an extra effort that the partners of WIN-BIG are willing to go, because we agree with you. This is such an important piece of data that we want to. And you see that the answers are quite different amongst sea basins. So when we present the Atlantic next year, you will see that we have a lot more data than we have for the Baltic or the Black Sea, because also the dimensions are a bit different. So we have to look at the numbers carefully still. So that's something that it's important. But yes.
Well, great to see actual figures. So congratulations on the survey. I'm quite curious to see the results from other regions. My question is more about, okay, it's a fact, there are barriers, but do you have information on what barriers are those exactly? Because that's what we need to address.
Yes, you noticed well, these three questions are taught like overall problems, systemic problems. But what type of, we had questions about the access to training, for example, or access to mentoring. And in both cases, about 60% said that they have access, and then 40 or 35% in the overall sample set, they do not have access to training that would support their career ladder. Then I don't remember the exact percentages, but many of the organizations did not have gender policies in hiring or in promotion aspects, and in qualitative areas as well. Some mentioned they would like training in technology-related sectors in order to stay in manufacturing, for example. And also about work-life balance and maternity leave. But this is something that both the company and the country should address at the same time, I think. Yeah. Thanks.
Any other comment or question before we move on? No? Then thank you, Hasmik, for a great presentation. And now I would like to invite Zoe, Barbara, and Eva to the panel one, and Angela as the moderator while I set this up.
Sit, please. Perhaps we sit that you can sort of also see a little bit when you have your presentation. Yes. You can slide. So we do it simply like flexible here. Yeah. Welcome to our first panel discussion, where first of all, a bit of a pity, because we had a fourth panelist expected, but times are changing, and nowadays we have new issues at airports. So unfortunately, our colleague from Belgium, from Flanders, who's working actually in the maritime industry, in the ports and shipping sector, and who have a specific program from within their own sector, a project called Olivia to support women in that maritime sector. She could not come because there was a drone accident, a drone issue at the airport of Brussels. So it was closed yesterday, and unfortunately, the trip was cancelled. But I think we can happily sort of also discuss among the four of us. And of course, you know, we are a relatively small group. I always invite you to chip in with your own experience, with your own comments, etc., with your own questions, please, during that panel session. And I would like to start it off actually by having your presentations on your stories, where you come from, why you are here. And with no further ado, I think Zoe from the Ministry of Environment, having come all the way from Berlin. So we do have decision makers here. Thank you that you made it. I think you're the first one to go. Hold on. I have been given, well, that's me. Now you see who is here. Zoe, perhaps if you want to give your story and your statement.
Thank you. I would like to stand while doing this, and cover the picture. Well, yes, thank you for inviting me. I'm actually from Bonn, which is even more south. So, yes, thank you for inviting me here. It is a pleasure to be here and to provide. Well, I actually prepared a brief input from an ocean governance perspective. But first, I would like to share with you the quote I brought from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, which I find very impressive. Sorry for showing you my shoulder now. When women participate in negotiations, peace lasts longer. When girls can go to school, entire generations lift out of poverty. When women enjoy equal job opportunities, economies grow stronger. And with parity in political leadership, decisions are fairer, policies are sharper, and societies are more just. When women and girls rise, everyone thrives. Just let it sink in. Well, let me start off. Women are key drivers of ocean protection, marine research, and blue economy, even though the data says otherwise. And yet their voices remain unheard in many political decision-making processes, and their valuable contributions often go unnoticed. Although critical for achieving sustainable ocean economies, women remain underrepresented and face significant barriers ranging from limited access to leadership roles to insufficient opportunities in sectors like maritime industries for fisheries. Despite the sector's pivot role in a sustainable blue economy, it remains a largely male-dominated field, as we heard before. This reality requires decisive action. Gender equality must not only be taken into account in our ocean policy, but must also be actively shaped. An inclusive perspective on a sustainable blue economy means recognizing the often invisible but vital role of women in the sustainable use and conservation of marine resources and systemically strengthening their role. This is why Germany has signed the voluntary commitment of the Women Ocean Guardians Initiative, along with Costa Rica, Grenada, the United Kingdom, and other signatories. The Women Ocean Guardians Initiative promotes women's leadership in the blue economy to achieve gender-inclusive and stronger ocean protection. The initiative addresses 5 problematic areas: violence, caregiving, health, leadership, and labor, and urges, for example, to strengthen women's rights and safety, value caregiving, recognize the work of women through fair payment, and promote the participation of women in decision-making processes. By incorporating gender equality into our efforts to achieve sustainable blue economy, we'll build healthier and more resilient oceans. Or to come back to Antonio Guterres' quote, "When women rise, the ocean thrives." Thank you very much.
With that, I think we simply move on, and I invite Barbara to, I think you better sort of take this yourself, Barbara.
Okay, I start with a little summary because on the next slide I will share with you my way of career, so to say. The summary is life is full of surprises. Take the chances you get and stay curious. And you will see the next why I'm saying this. So I started with my university studies in Mainz. At the university, I studied geography and economics. And this is not specifically blue, of course, but it laid the basis for it. I got general knowledge in economics. I got general knowledge on ecosystems, on oceans, on coasts, but of course also about mountains, volcanoes, and so on. So it was quite broad. But at the end, I chose a topic for my diploma thesis on shipping costs. So this was my first connection with the blue economy without knowing the word of blue economy, blue growth. There was something I have not heard at that time yet. So then after finishing my university studies, I went to Cologne for teaching. I was a lecturer at the University of Cologne in economic geography. And there for the first time, I realized how important networks are because I saw this job description and I knew the name of the professor because I have read some of her papers. I checked out on the internet this institute and I found out that a former fellow student of mine is already working there. So I called her, said, "Can you tell me a little bit more about the institute?" And then I applied for this job. She talked to the professor and I got the job. During my teaching, I deepened my knowledge in economic geography, but I also found out the differences between female students and male students. The needs are different, the ways they are working are different, the interests are different. So I had to cope with this as a teacher. Then I realized that I did a lot of teaching, but I couldn't do my PhD in Cologne. There were some misunderstandings with the professor. So I decided to quit my job in Cologne and to start my PhD somewhere else in Geesthacht at the, today it's called Hereon. At that time it was the Helmholtz-Zentrum Geesthacht. And again, I got this job because my professor from Mainz had moved to Geesthacht in the meantime. And I called her and I said, "I want to come back to you. Do you want me after those years again?" And she gave me a job in Geesthacht. I did my PhD there at the Institute of Coastal Research. And this was the time when I got more into the blue economy. My own research was on regional development in coastal areas. So I dealt with shipping again, with ports, but also with chemical industry and so on. So it was not 100% blue economy, but I had colleagues working on maritime spatial planning, on offshore wind and so on. So I came closer to these topics and I finished with my PhD. After that time, I had two female professors, one in Cologne, one in Hamburg or Geesthacht, and they were role models for me. But in this case, I saw, I don't want to become a professor. And I decided I want to leave science. I want to go somewhere else, but that was quite difficult to find a job, to be honest. But I had a very kind colleague in Geesthacht, and one day she came up to me and said, "I know someone in Berlin. They are looking for someone with an economic background who is willing to move to Kiel." This someone was Angela. And that's how I came to SPRO and Submariner Network. I was working 3 years in different projects. My main project was here at the Ministry of Economic Affairs in Kiel. That's why I had to move to Kiel. But I also had different projects. I worked a lot with the blue growth concept or blue growth policy. I worked on mussel farming, on shipping, on offshore wind, and so on and so on. So it was blue biotech, the whole range of sectors. So these 3 years were my really blue years. And I also got in contact with colleagues in the projects from the Baltic states. So what I learned from them was that there are more women in leading positions in Poland, in the Baltic states, in Scandinavia, more than I saw here in Germany. So I learned that it's important to exchange also with people from other countries and to learn from them how it's working. And then after 3 years, the project at the ministry was finished, and I looked for a job in Kiel to stay there because I really love Kiel. And the next job I also think I got because there were connections between the ministry and the Kiel Business Support Organization I'm working for now. Right now, I'm innovation manager at the Kiel Business Support Organization. So I'm not only responsible for blue economy, but a large part of the industry in Kiel is blue, of course, but I'm also dealing with other sectors. And at the beginning, it was quite hard because most networks I'm working in are extremely male dominated. If you think about rail tech, that's a really male dominated sector, and mostly I'm dealing with CEOs, and mostly CEOs are male, and I'm dealing with people running the R&D sections in the company, so most of them are engineers and most of them are male. So the first thing my bosses at the Kiwi, they sent me to a training in female leadership. That was quite eye-opening for me, how to deal with male interests and how to make myself visible and being heard. I can say after 6 years, yes, now they listen to me, they do what I'm saying, but it was a learning process. And quite recently, I founded together with 3 other women, a Women in Mobility Network hub here in Schleswig-Holstein. That's a network that's already existing in the whole German-speaking countries, because I found out that women are not visible. Those male-dominated networks, when we talk about organizing a conference, they always suggest male speakers. And when I'm telling them, now it's this 7th conference and there was not one woman speaking. Oh, really? Yes. Look at the agenda, there was no woman speaking. They don't even realize. And they don't see the necessity to change this. So when I conclude my learnings from those 17 years of working, I learned that networking is a key. It's important to know people. Female role models are very important. I learned in the last years, or I took it as my own task to make women more visible. And I learned that we can learn a lot from other Baltic Sea region countries because they are ahead of us concerning women and women in leading positions, women in economy. But I also want to stress that for me, successful innovative business or projects need mixed teams, diverse teams in all facets, with different strengths and a culture of mutual respect. That's very important. I just say this briefly because we come to those topics later on, and that's it for now.
Thanks, Barbara. And I'd like to hand over to Eva, who is giving her next input. Please, one question. Yeah, I was just wondering when you would take it. And can you first introduce yourself? Good morning, I'm Wendy from the German Marine Research Consortium, or also known as KDM. And I was just wondering when you went to the training that you mentioned, I mean, aside from you learning this, what did they teach you with the training? Maybe your top 3 takeaways about working with men?
it was mostly about communication. It was how to communicate, and women often tend to give arguments. They say their position and then they say why they have this meaning or this position. But males, they don't hear that. So you have to be short, very precise in communicating, not long sentences, not long dialogues, short and pregnant, precise sentences in communication. That's important. And to take your room, like also the way you're sitting, you're standing, not like this. That's very important.
Eva, take your room. Okay, thanks a lot. Yes, thanks a lot for inviting me. I just leave it on for a second because I could copy paste exactly the same learnings, Barbara. Thanks a lot for it. That's exactly, yeah, the outcome of my whole long way, 25 years of career. So that's me, just a very short. I would like to tell you some personal experience from my side, who I am, what I'm doing, why I'm doing what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. And I think maybe, yeah, there are some lessons learned for others. So yeah, my name is Eva Strohtotter. I'm working at the R&D Center, University of Applied Sciences here in Kiel. I'm leading offshore multi-use projects, all biological offshore projects, freshwater, close to shore, near shore, offshore. And yeah, that's what I'm doing currently. And I also was leading an environmental consulting company for more than 20 years, doing environmental impact assessment studies, all kinds of studies. I worked abroad in different countries. So I will come to this later. So what is the, maybe some of you don't know the R&D Center in Kiel. It's very technology based, and that's the strong background of it. So it's a gateway between industry and science in Kiel, and it's doing planning. For one example, is planning, operating, implementing offshore projects, and also decommissioning offshore platforms in the North Sea and also in the Baltic Sea. And we are doing this since more than 2 decades and had more than 40 offshore projects on these platforms. So it's a strong technology background. A lot of engineers are working at our side. So you can imagine mostly men. So with whom do I work? I'm working with offshore wind park people, with aquaculture producers, with fishers, with shipping companies, with licensing authorities, NGOs, research institutions, a lot of engineering people, shipping people, and fishers. So that's very important maybe to know. Yeah, just a little story what I did so far. I did my master's here at the Kiel University officially, but I did it in Canada. And yeah, this was my first experience. This was almost a year of field work there in the fishing sector. And it was really, really difficult to get the technical people helping me because I was just a master's student and just a woman. So it was incredibly difficult for me to get the people to help me to do all the fishing. And in the end, it was really very risky if I can finish my master's at all. So there was an reservation next to my study area with indigenous people, and they were watching me. And then we got into contact, and then I asked them for help because I experienced a totally different society, totally different mentality. There was no question at all for them if it's male or female or whatever to help each other. So this was my first experience how I finished my master's, because I got help from all these indigenous people, and they had very little biological station there those days. I visited them this year, just a few months ago, and I was so happy to see that they now have a big biological consulting company. They're doing aquaculture production. They're doing all kinds of jobs, have a big institution now there, and a lot of female people are working there in the labs, on the ships, everywhere. I've seen them. So I thought, well, that's a great success story, also for me, but also for them. I was really happy to see that. Yeah, then another experience I can tell from my side was I was working on the Aleutian Islands for 2 years for the US Fish and Wildlife Service, and doing fishing observers jobs for the salmon fishing, commercial salmon fishing industry. I was doing it in the freshwater, I was doing it on ships, and it was a great experience. Yeah, there was no problem at all being a woman, being on ships, being a fisheries observer. All the commercial fishermen handed their logbooks and everything I need to see. To me, there was no problem at all. When I came back to Germany, I contacted here the institutions and asked, well, do you have fishing observers on your ships? Yes, we do, but no women at all. That's impossible. I was shocked, really, to experience such a statement in Germany. So, but I became a fisheries observer for freshwater areas, and there was even a big celebration being the first female fishing observer in, but only freshwaters. It was incredible. I thought, why do we need a celebration for that? I was really astonished. But there was a lot of like my master thesis. There was have been a lot of experiences in my career like that. A lot of obstacles, a lot of discrimination. But I always found people who were very open, well-minded, very had a good idea of what is needed, and those were mostly people traveling, mostly people having worked abroad, having worked in different countries, having experienced different cultures, mentalities. And those people I experienced were really open. There were a lot of options, helped me out with kids. I have 2 kids. The father of the kids is traveling worldwide. So a lot of times I've been on my own with the kids and had to do these jobs. And I always found people who gave opportunities, were very open to it. This was really, there was a lot of positive experiences, but a lot of discrimination also.
Perhaps we are sort of moving around a little bit. So thanks a lot for these very inspirational inputs, and let's simply sort of have a bit of a discussion and follow up. And again, I would also really like to invite the audience, if you have comments, if you have questions, please simply sort of raise your voice, take your room. So we have heard now your stories, in a sense. My first question would be to you, Eva, because you have said, there were, a lot of hurdles. There was also discrimination. What brought you, or into the blue economy, nevertheless? I mean, what was sort of, why do you like it, nevertheless? Why did you stay on? What made you stay on?
Yes, thanks for that question. There have been also one key experience when I set an advertisement for a job in blue economy position, and I was struggling. Can I fulfill the requirements? How would I handle this job? There are a lot of challenges. I'm not sure. And I was talking to a fishery person. And he said, well, do you know how men are deciding in such a situation? They just take the job first. That's the first thing they do. They take the job, they say yes, And the second step is, okay, how would I handle this job? So what would I do? Let's see if I can handle the job. But first they say, yes, I do it. And then afterwards, everything else will be worked out somehow. And I thought, okay, they're not discussing so much, not thinking so much of risks and what could be and maybe and should be. And I said, okay, I will go for it. And that was my first job in Blue Economy, and it worked out, really. That's something I experienced, and I'm still very thankful and still communicate with this old fisherman and say, hey, thanks a lot. That was my first step into Blue Economy. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, we have heard now quite a lot that about visibility, that women are not visible. I mean, they may work in the blue economy, but that they are less visible. And I guess that this also translates into that their decisions, their opinions are less visible in sort of decision making. And I actually sort of also remember another conference which was not about women at all. It was in Poland, and where with no sort of, push, the director of IOPAN, which is their big marine institute, said, yeah, he also thinks that there is an issue that also in science, that they're missing the female perspective, that it's very much taken from a male perspective. What would you think in terms of this visibility? What would you hope in terms of having more female voices in decision making? How can we make this happen? And what do you think is important to have that female perspective?
I think one point is what Eva just said, that women have to say yes first and then think about, and not first think and then say no, maybe. That's important, but I also think that it's important to have those female networks and to help each other, to support each other, to generate a network of support and encouragement, empowerment. And if there is someone, maybe you can discuss those questions if you're the right person with the female group before, and then the others, they give you the proof that you're the right person, and then that they also help you if you have problems, then maybe, or there are difficulties.
And Zoe, what is your opinion?
Yes, I was thinking actually about your answer as well. Yes, women probably should say yes more often instead of overthinking. But I also, well, I do wish that men would actually think things through at the first place. Other than that, I would say, well, I don't think women, well, as I said, women, it's not like they are not there. I think you said it as well. Well, they just, well, they are not listened to. So, well, it might be about taking the room, be more confident, and empower oneself. But it's, I don't know, I would actually like to throw the ball to the man to, like encourage in yeah, giving women the space they actually need to be heard.
Maybe I can add a little bit on that, giving a perspective. Yeah, I'm working in multi-use offshore projects. So the most important word is the multi. So we are working with shipping companies, with licensing authorities, with a lot of technical people, with a lot of engineers, and a lot of so we have to consider a lot of requirements, risks, aspects, and a lot of different people. I can tell from my job that technical people's brains are working differently than biological brains, brains of biologists. So there are a lot of different aspects. And it's still a very new sector in Germany at all, in Europe. And that's where women bring in a lot of their strength, because they are very collaborative. They are very great in communicating. They can, they see different perspectives. They have a good idea what needs to be taken into account. They can open some doors which are closed since a lot of years. That's what we experienced in these multi-use projects with women being not only participating, very important, also leading, building up networks, shape it from the ground, how these structures will be in the future, who's responsible, what are the networks, exactly what you say, what are the networks, and what are the structures. It's very important that in these multi-use projects, there are a lot more, also onshore, of course, that that the women perspective is in there from the start, not afterwards. And so we need women here in leadership roles, not only participating. And yeah, we experience it very strongly and also take it into account in our institution. Now have a leadership team with 50% male, 50% female people. And because, yeah, we experience a lot of, it's a different way of communicating. We can open some doors, we can open some paths which were closed for years because, yeah, only men were communicating and struggling and fighting each other, and now we yeah, have a different options.
Okay. I would like to take the opportunity that we have Zoe from the ministry here. Perhaps to be more concrete, what do you think can actually government policy play in advancing women's chances in the blue economy? Is there sort of something specific which really could come from policy making?
Yes, I do think actually governments can do a lot, but not only governments, also the private sector. Well, by including gender equitable legal frameworks and also pushing actually gender sensitive approaches into the policies, there might be actually a chance to have a systemic change. And I think this is actually, we haven't talked about the hurdles before, but I do think this is one of the biggest hurdles, systemic changes that needs to be done. And actually the last legislative period, we used to have, and I have to say used to, the foreign feminist policies by Annalena Baerbock, which actually integrated female perspectives into all policies within the ministry, which was great. I think governments can actually provide women leadership with policies, but also push the participation of women in actually important decision-making processes. For example, well, governments as well as private sector can enact binding pay transparency measures, which would be actually very needed. And also, well, gender balance obligations for, well, various organs, or also for well, board members within corporates. The BB&J agreement, I don't know if you all know it, is supposed to be one really good example for including the female gender aspects within. There was actually, the BB&J agreement, did it actually include a system where you have to appoint your members with a gender balance. So with this, you had in the end, in the scientific, but also in the technical body, well, a balanced group, balanced decision-making processes that could actually be reached with that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities with that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, perhaps also from your side, because you talked about now sort of almost invisible hurdles, so that there are, simply a lot of men in the room and you sort of, have to create visibility. Have you experienced other sort of, hard hurdles? I mean, in your career, or do you know in your sector where there are hurdles for women entering the blue economy, or taking leadership positions in the economy, which could be sort of, yeah, taken down, which are sort of not the soft hurdles, but sort of, hard hurdles?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what hard hurdles, but yeah, few examples are we are working on commercial ships when we go offshore, not research vessel. This is a big difference. So like I have to sleep in a room with 3 men. That's very common in a cabin with three men on the ship. And for me, it's okay, absolutely, but it's not okay for every woman, I'm sure. And there are no structures, there are no infrastructure, there are no logistics taking this into account. And those are some hurdles also. Yeah, sitting on a table, talking with captain, crews. And first, there's a lot of times there's astonishment. Okay, you are leading the next sea mission. Okay, they wonder if that's possible at all. And then, but the second time you go with the same captains, the same people on a sea mission, it's absolutely fine. It's working out. They see, well, okay, she knows what she's doing, what she's talking about, what she knows all the equipment. So they see, well, it's no problem. It's easy going. And yeah, those of course those are hurdles. Also, we have to fight for ships. The ships there are not enough ships for these kind of jobs, and it's that those are some hurdles. Fighting with other CEOs, with other project leaders, all men, who's getting the vessel, and those are still hurdles.
And Barbara, yeah, from your experience, you were also mentioning that you were teaching and that there were really differences between men and women there. And we still see sort of, much less women actually studying engineering, etc. I don't know whether this would help if we had more sort of female engineers to get into these jobs. What is your take on in terms of hurdles other than sort of, having these networks?
You mean hurdles in within the students? Well, I mean, the students I was teaching were mainly from economics and from regional studies. So I didn't have engineers. And I would say it was like 50-50, the groups. But the differences were, as you said, the male students, they were sure about themselves and that their opinion is right. So I had a lot of trouble saying them, no, what you're saying is not right. And to explain them why, for instance, in Wikipedia, not everything is correct. They cited Wikipedia and they say, but it says there, and that's why it's correct. And with the female students, I had the problem that they didn't dare to stand up and speak in front of the group. Of course, they had to have their speeches, but we also did some role plays, for instance, and then there were small groups, and each group had to send someone in the front. And I tried to, like if there was one group and they couldn't decide who should present the group work, I said, you are doing it. I don't dare to. I said, yes, you're doing it. The group is helping you. And at the end, it was perfect. And she was so happy and she was so proud that she did it. But she needed this push.
Yeah, now I see some questions. I don't know whether.
Just go around. Thank you. How are you doing? Vera Quinlan is my name, from the Marine Institute of Ireland. So just to give a little bit of context, I can identify with all of the stories here. I've been offshore for 29 years now, in my 30th year of my career. So we talk about hard challenges, and I can tell you an awful lot of stories, but we won't go into that, maybe for dinner later. But one of the reasons I didn't get my first job in the 90s was because they told me that they didn't have a female toilet. So I said, oh, okay. So I asked, well, how many toilets do you have on board? And they said 4. And I said, well, couldn't one of them be a female toilet? Anyway, they said that was impossible, and I didn't get the job. I did challenge it. However, times have moved on, and we don't have that anymore, thankfully. But I did have to leave the commercial world in order to have a family, because at the time I was spending 5 to 6 weeks at a time offshore. So I wasn't going to have a child and go to sea for 6 weeks. So that was how I ended up, I wanted to stay in the sector, so I ended up working for the Marine Institute of Ireland for the last 20 years. But my question, I suppose, maybe to the policymakers specifically and to the commercial world is, why can't we have creches offshore? Why can't we have childcare offshore? Now, there are challenges to this, and I very much understand vessels, small vessels, large vessels, etc. But there are certainly circumstances in the commercial world and in the large shipping vessels. And if that was available, I really think that there would be so many more women able to enter that sector. People, I've said this to many people, male and female, and I think it's absolutely cracked idea. Like the cracked idea that I mentioned in the 90s about the toilet. Now they think that this is, you know, just crazy. But so I suppose I'm just putting it out there. There are many vessels over 250, 300 meters long that can have a small creche and have offshore child mining facilities. So that's all I'd like to say. Thank you very much.
Okay. Who raised the hand? Ah, okay.
Hi. Thanks a lot for the input. Yeah, there's a lot that I could relate to. We were joking around here about a time we went offshore and the 2 girls coming offshore, are you sure you're not going to be cold and whatnot? So a lot to relate to. When you were talking about this supporting each other and supporting other women, one thing that it was just a thing that just came to my mind now was also this, maybe how we enter a room and who we assume to be in power. So when we enter a room and there's female and male, and we always like, you know, what the thought is in our head, and then we act different, I think, when we assume, okay, probably it's the male in power. And yeah, this is something that, yeah, is this something that you think is, you know, a thing that we can work with, that we can say, okay, maybe we just act a bit different from ourselves as well, like assuming, okay, you know, it's not, he's not in power maybe, or just like she's in power. And then, yeah, because I had this one example that I had to think of when I was driving my boat and I was entering the harbor, and I had a friend on board, and he's male, and he had the ropes, and we're gonna go up to a boat and tie up, and he turns around and he asks me, he's like, what should I do with the rope? And then the woman who was on the other boat, she looked at me, she's like, you're the skipper? And I'm like, yes, well, this is my boat. And I told him what to do, and we tied up and whatnot. And then after I talked to them, And that boat was an all-female crew. She was the skipper who had asked me, and she was surprised that I was the skipper of the boat. So I think that, yeah, this is something that came to my mind of this, who do we assume to be in power and how do we act upon this? So maybe this is also something how we can support in a way. I don't know if this is something that you have any thoughts to.
So speaking on this concept, right, is called internalized misogyny, and a lot of women have it. I just read a Facebook post today about a woman asking for a dentist, and she preferred a man. And when someone called her out on why do you prefer a man, her answer was, oh, because I just trust them more. And then she proceeded to say, even when I was pregnant, I wanted a male OBGYN, which to me is horrifying. But anyway. My one of the things that I wanted to bring up to you guys talking about hard and soft barriers that you faced is we're seeing in many countries a rise of the alt-right, the far right, which is a very misogynistic movement at its core. And I'm wondering if you have seen that in your daily practice, if you see men who are more empowered to speak against women, to try and keep women down, because I know in the US, this is a very big issue right now. And I'm wondering if you're also seeing it here.
I know we have one more there, but maybe we can reply. Do you take one more and then we'll reply? Okay, perfect.
Hey, Sema from Finland. I'm working for a long time. I'm Turkish origin. I work in Spain. I work in Finland. And I heard that Baltic countries to the Nordic part are better from this woman point of view about gender balance, you say. I agree. However, however, glass ceiling is still there, I'm thinking, because I believe that in all of the countries that I work, at least, when you know what you are doing, I don't think that people are, of course, some, but the dominance is listening you, following what you say. However, for instance, when I go to political places, decision makers, rooms, then I'm feeling we are alone. So then I'm thinking, if the glass ceiling is there, how much can I work in my downside part to get to there? So my question is to Zoe, actually. Do you feel it also when you are in the governmental side? Because I'm feeling it in Finland. I'm seeing that even more than here, because of the situation of the ancestral way of being, I'm thinking that female decision makers are still less. So how do you feel in the government part that the women's voices are heard, let's say? Thank you.
Okay.
So there were quite a number of questions and comments. I would take the last one now because it was directly addressed to you, Zoe.
Still thinking about it. Well, to be fair, I am in the environmental ministry. So there are differences, I would say, within the ministries. We have more female leaders than some other ministries. But I would say that, well, given the political situation, not only in Germany, but also within Europe, you know, like right-wing parties getting more and more power. And, well, discrimination being actually a really frightening issue right now. I think women do actually have, well, not less of a voice, but I think times were better before. Yeah, I think I would keep it like this. But I would also be interested in other opinions. I'm sure I'm not the only one within a governmental system.
Okay, thanks. Because I would like to pick up on, also the other comments. I was wondering either in terms of, more positive changes in time and innovation, and that there is, nowadays much more can be done also offshore without being offshore. Do you see sort of, also positive developments really from an innovation side point of view, which would sort of enable more women to sort of find these blue economy jobs attractive?
Yes, I think one really kind of success story is that we are going to schools. We're going to these school leaving classes here around Kiel and teach them and do projects with them together for a whole year and to let them know what is engineering, what is aquaculture. Everybody can do it, of course. There are no limits for women or anything like that. And to encourage them to pick up studies like offshore engineering, aquaculture engineering. And this is really a good idea because they experience themselves. Okay, I can work outside, I can work in the Kiel Bay, I can do all these jobs, I can learn all these, handle all these equipments and sensors and data, and it's not only my male classmates doing it, but I can do it myself. And this is really now we get more women to study these kinds of ways at the university. So this is really a good idea. What I experienced there is that it's not really the problem sometimes of the pupils, but the parents. The parents are the most important decision maker what they are going to do after they finish school. It's incredible how many times I experience, well, don't you think you should better go into study some language or some social studies, or do you really think you should really go for this offshore engineering? It's incredible how many parents are very limited or very, very old-fashioned thinking.
Okay, I think we have to finish off. I would like to finish off because, I'm leading a female-driven company with really, I think we have 80% women in our company. I have not made a survey. I have from time to time asked whether this has anything to do with the fact that, I'm the director, I'm the managing director. Just two personal stories. One, I have a daughter. She's now just, taking her choice. And I really try to encourage her to sort of go into engineering. She's so good in maths, etc. She wants to do politics. Okay, good. Yeah. So, and the other one, and here I have to say I also am a bit critical because I have experienced it myself. So since we have a lot of women, we have, of course, also many sort of coming mothers, etc., etc. And I have to say, even though we have home office, etc., I really have to encourage them to come back earlier and not only after 3 years' time, and that they don't take the whole day time off on maternity leave, and that they stay simply tuned. And if I have mothers, then to be very honest, I also quite sometimes challenge why they always take the sick leave and why not their fathers, the fathers of the kids are sort of taking that sick leave. So as an entrepreneur, as their boss, I also sometimes have to really say, listen, you know, what is about your equality at home? I mean, in the end, it's sometimes also something private, where, you know, we have to sort of also see that. And I dare to ask this. I hope I don't do it in a discriminative way, but I mean, I sort of dare to challenge here also that, you know, I simply expect that they are delivering. But I also have to say that with home office, etc., I'm very often amazed how much one can also get done by completely flexible hours and, you know, giving people generally the choice on when they feel best, when they can do something, etc., and to reduce this necessity to be sort of physically at every single meeting, etc., etc. So that's also possible. Okay. I think that was hopefully a nice starting point. If you want to have any last word you want to give to this group for the next 1.5 days?
Maybe I have one thing to say, because it happened, I think, twice, that people were saying how to change mail. And that's not possible. You can never change other persons. You always have to start with yourself, as you said. So this is the point we have to start to change our mindset, our behavior, how to deal with the men in the room. That was the last point I wanted to say.
Okay.
I want to welcome you again. Welcome back to now panel 2 of this conference part of the WIN-BIG Baltic event. I quickly introduce myself. I think I have a slide. Yes. My name is Natasha Jaspad. I work for Submarina Network for a year, almost a year now. And I'm still at the very beginning of my career, I would say. I have a few years of experience, but yeah, now I feel like becoming a project manager at Submarina. I learned a lot already in this past year. And my background is marine science and climate change. I did my master's in Gibraltar and came back here. And yes, I am in Berlin now. And I want to welcome our panel to the stage, or to our chairs that we lined up here. So yeah, take your seats, and then we can get started with panel 2. So for our panel, we have Rasha Stai, who is hopefully, yes, over there, from Kiel University. Yes, thank you. Hi. I will give you in a second. I would just welcome everyone from panel 2 to the stage, so you can just sit down for a second. Then we have Anne Stod Mølman, coming all the way from Denmark. We have Ben Schwedhelm, Tina Maria Seligman from Submarina Network also, and Julia Lange, also from Kiel. Welcome, welcome. And now, following the example of panel 1, I would like to give the word to the different panelists first. And yeah, this panel 2 is focused on how we can navigate challenges, how we can celebrate successes and build allyship in women-led marine biotechnology innovation. We are focused on blue bioproducts, feed, food, and everything that comes with that. So first, I would like to ask Rasha to come here and introduce yourself.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Thank you again, and also from my side, welcome to Kiel, everyone. I am Rasha Stai. I started at Kiel University well, it's not there are not the right slides. Giving just back. I can add info, no problem.
So it's anyway very, very nice to host this event here in Kiel. So I know some faces. Actually, I thought I will know so many of you, but I was surprised that so many people came from other countries to Kiel. So welcome again. Happy to see you here. Well, it's my highlight here. It's a female. It's a female participant also. So yeah, it was our highlight because we sat there and it's really nice to see it as it is. That sometimes also, well, kids have to come with us. It's the same situation with every woman. I think it happens at least once. And yeah, I think one of the this process, yeah, I mean, a part of this anyway.
I think Natasha will jump to another speaker where we put your slides up because they're gone.
You can, but I think there our slides are not all slides. We can change if you want. No problem. Well, I can also speak without slides. But
No, they're here. Just don't know where they're not there.
So, okay, then we can maybe move to Anne for a second and come back to you.
As a host, please.
There are always some technical. I get it.
Okay. Well, then I go. Hello, my name is Anne. I'm from Denmark. The managing director of Havhøst, which translates into Ocean Harvest. We are an NGO working to promote the food production using regenerative ocean farming. So cultivation of low traffic species like seaweed and mussels. I will give you a little bit of introduction to what we do and then give you some perspective regarding the gender situation. Yes, so this is just some pictures of what the approach that Havhøst is using is very bottom up. So we have for more than 10 years been working with promoting regenerative ocean farming in local communities around the Danish coast. We have a lot of coastline, but somehow we've completely forgotten to eat mussels. Don't know how that happened. Now we spend all our energy producing pigs instead, but we advocate that we go back to the mussels or at least try to reintroduce them. So we are now more than 40 so-called blue community gardens around the Danish coast, where people come together and grow mussels and seaweed for their own consumption, have a good time, get outside and have good experiences in nature while actually also reconnecting to the ocean and because there's nothing more sort of personal perhaps than what you eat. So we spend a lot of effort to sort of support these community gardens, and we also do a lot of education. That's why I brought these cute children in orange life jackets. They do a lot of protesting when they have to wear them. But we don't want anyone to drown while they visit us in the Copenhagen harbor. But we have more than 1,000 kids every year to come learn how to be sort of an ocean farmer for a day. They get their hands in the water, dissect mussels or calculate the space needed to grow a lot of food, which is not a lot, I can tell you. They always eat. That's sort of one of the tricks that we use. They eat mussel soup or they do seaweed waffles to actually make them have a real life experience in eating something other than burgers and pizza. So that's what we do. And then I brought this guy, and he's not very female. His name is Mogens, and he's a coastal fisher. And I brought him because one of the other things that Havhøst is also promoting is sort of a commercialization of this regenerative ocean farming. Because if we really want to transform food systems, we need people to make a living out of it. Otherwise, it's very all this community stuff is important and sort of the basis, but we need people to actually make a living out of it as well. So that's what we are working on in projects with ESPO, like Cool Blue and Cool Blue Baltic and other projects as well, where we want to combine coastal fishing and ocean cultivation. So that's why I brought him to this small presentation. In terms of gender, we see, as also the survey we saw before, that in the community gardens and in the commercial cultivation, it's male dominated. We do see more people, especially females, especially in the community gardens, but it is sort of still a male dominated industry. But in Havhøst, an NGO placed in Copenhagen, we have a very strong sort of female representation. I get a lot of emails from people who want to join and help us in our mission, and they are predominantly from females. Actually, it's like sometimes when we're hiring someone, we're like, well, the guys said, why do they not sort of, write to us? And also that's also reflected in, of course, in our gender balance in our employees. But our board, we only have 2 out of 7 people female. So that is, I would say that our chair is a woman, but so that's something that I'm at least very concerned with. So why does this board really not reflect sort of a more balanced gender balance? But yeah, that's how it is at least. But we are aware of it. And that's also why a couple of years ago we created this new vision of the future of marine food cultivation, that we actually want young people to join. We want to create a new sector with a different focus, and we generated these. There was some of the first when AI just got started, so we had a company really working hard to make the computer generate these images. It was very difficult for them, but because AI didn't know what mussel cultivation looks like. they did some really weird suggestions, but at least this is sort of our vision, that we have a new blue economy along the Danish shoreline, much more focused on young people with the gender balance. That's it.
Thank you so much. Let me check. Yes. Next, I would give the word to Ben for now. And Rasha, I promise you will get also your time to speak. But yeah, I will let you introduce yourself because you can do it best. Here you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So yeah, my name is Ben. I am the CEO and founder of My Spirulina. I'm from Kiel. I studied in Kiel, so a little bit about myself. So I had the great privilege to once live abroad in South Korea, Seoul, for 2 years, and first noticed algae there, got to enjoy fresh algae. And back in Germany, I was a little bit terrified that the algae sector is still so small here. And that's why I started My Spirulina, and I studied here in Kiel biology, and yeah, started my own startup through a coincidence, but more on this later. And yeah, what is My Spirulina? So I will give you a quick introduction on what we really do, who we are, and what drives us. So as you can say, we're more like a algae farm, so not in the Copenhagen Förde. Is it also Förde? I don't know, but fjord, but we have an algae farm for your windowsill to grow your own algae directly at home, that you don't need to jump into the cold water, but you can still make your hands dirty and get right onto it and feel algae directly at home. Kurt, we're working with spirulina. Spirulina, I don't know, many probably have heard of spirulina here in the room. It's like a, I still like to call it microalgae, but biologically it's a cyanobacterium. It's super rich in proteins, minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants. Studies have all shown that it improves energy, supports the immune system, and it promotes healthy skin. And that's why it was already declared by the World Health Organization as well as the NASA as best food for future. But the big question is now also here in the room, like, who from you consumes spirulina on a daily basis, even though it's already declared? 1, 2. Maybe also weekly. I raise. Okay, then we have 4, 5, perfect. And that's the big thing. Like, if we're not even consuming it, we all know the benefits of algae. We know why we should consume it for us, but also for the planet. Then how can we convince more people to consume it and get to know algae? And for this, this answer to the question is, for this, we have to look into current products, which are currently on the market. You know, like, we have to buy it because we cannot all yet grow our own algae in like a small garden. And for this, these are the products currently. They lack a lot of controlling through their unclear cultivation. They lack sustainability because of long transport routes. They lack nutrients because while trying, you lose a lot of nutrients and you often get like a smelly, dusty flavor from the powders and pills that are currently on the market. And this leads to results that we just got like 4 people out of, I would say, 50 people consume it on a daily basis. And that's the big problem. And this is not the best food for future declared as NASA and World Health Organization. So we need to change something. And we try to do it by bringing algae directly home to you, to lose out all the problems that the current spirulina products have and bring it directly to you so you can grow your own supplement and you know exactly what's inside. It's 100% transparent. You know exactly how, who, and why it was produced. And most importantly, you have maximum fresh spirulina. And with this, we developed the farm for you that you don't need to study biology or anything to cultivate your own spirulina. You can then harvest regularly and put fresh spirulina into any diet. And the great thing is about fresh spirulina, it doesn't have any taste, so you don't need to change your diet. You can just include it into anything. You can also make maybe spirulina waffles or anything. We haven't tried it, but we made pancakes. So you don't need to change your daily habit, but you can easily and effortlessly boost your meals by putting fresh spirulina into them. Those are the benefits. You know exactly, it's sustainable, maximum freshness, fresh spirulina. Luckily, I'm not doing this on my own, so I started this. So I've been cultivating for more than 8 years now on my own windowsill spirulina. Right when I came back from Korea, I wanted to consume more algae, but saw the big problem of the current products, and I was not happy with them. And I was like, okay, then I will just do it by myself. And this was 8 years ago. And then, as I mentioned, through coincidence, I got into the startup world. So I really I believe one time I read my mails from the university and I got somehow hooked by a email from the ZFE, which is still, no, it's not there, by the ZFE. Oh, it's done. Okay. Perfect. Zentrum for Entrepreneurship from the University of Kiel, and it was just like start your own startup, and I did. And yeah, and I found a team who support us. We are 4 young founders who are building this mission right now to bring algae to everybody's home, and we have a great network who support us on this mission. And yeah, our goal is to make algae more into people's lives and include them and show people that also the step to consume algae is not to change the diet, but just to include it. And for this, we also work a lot with schools. We have 8 ongoing school cooperations to also show the kids already what spirulina is, why it's the benefits, and most importantly, let them eat it in form of, we mostens do spirulina plätzchen with them, with small little dinosaurs or something. They all turn green, but they really love it, and I think that's one of the most important things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ben. Maybe you notice he's a man sitting on the panel. We will get into this during the discussion a bit more. But for now, thank you very much. And I would now give the word to Tina to say a few words about her path and her work and what she's doing.
Thank you. Yes, hello. Yeah, I'm Tina, and I don't have really the perspective from a producing company like Ben, for example. But I think I have more the overview or the outside view of this through different areas. So I'm originally also a food technologist. So From there, I went into food law at first. And here I was advising lots of different food companies and especially also lots of startups with their legal issues or like about their products. And interestingly, you could also notice some differences there between the female or male-led startups, especially in terms of being structured, being better organized. Maybe that's a tendency that I notice. Of course, everyone is different, but yeah, tendentially, I would say the women-led startups were a bit more thinking ahead with things, whereas the men were more jumping right into the product, starting their idea, which is also good, of course, in some ways. But there we had also often quite yeah, bad surprises then, which were not, yeah, it was not always great. Yeah, and I've also worked a bit on the side in public education, mostly educating about food, sustainability. And here I think the other colleagues I met doing the similar things that were mostly women as well. So I think here's also the trend. You see it also in other areas. So this public education, I think, is in generally more women dominated. Yeah, and then where I really focused more on the blue is the Submariner network, where I've been working for the past about 2 years. Also mostly with food and feed, but always very closely with the industry together. So for example, in my last project, that was the algae industry study, focusing on algae in aquaculture feed. I've talked a lot to aquaculture producers, algae producers, aquaculture feed producers. And yeah, also here we could see there are some women, but really not so many. I would say maybe a quarter of the people I spoke to were women. But yeah, hopefully that changes and we get more out there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tina. I have a go from Mariana that your slides are ready, Rasha, and I would just now put them up on the screen. And yeah, if you want, you can come up. You can up. No, it's the downloaded version I have here. Yeah. So I will give the word to you. It just takes a minute for me to set up, like, put it on the screen. Okay.
Okay. I'm so optimistic now. So. Actually, it's not. It's not, no? No, it's not. Because of the downloading. I can just do this one. Okay, there it is. Perfect. Yeah. Where is that? Okay, but this is not really connected. No? It is. Is it? I just have to put it on slide mode. Okay. Oh my God, it's working. Thank you. Well, I welcome you already to Kiel. So I was just about saying, yeah, I started at the Kiel University 2009 with my master's study. And then I completed my master thesis at the Division of Food Technology. And yeah, I finished this 2012 and then started directly with my doctoral thesis at the same division, food technology, which is still my second home today. And 2017, I finished my this chapter and started to do several. Oh, okay. Yeah, now it's better. Several scientific works until 2020. A project called My Biofac was funded, and this provided us the perfect gateway to bioeconomy. And at that time, my boss, she's also female, asked me if I would like to take over the project, to manage the project works, and also to play my rules, so to say, to practice my hobby as as product developer. And this project focuses on the blue mussels as sustainable resource for several functional biocompounds. But why it was so important for us to enter this section again? Also because at our division, protein research is a key topic. So we investigate several protein structures and properties with the aim of applying them effectively in food systems. And nowadays we are all aware that environmental concerns have got a top priority. And as the world population still increases so rapidly, and so also the need for proteins, that's why we investigate alternative sustainable resources for proteins, which exhibit at the same time also the appropriate properties for food application. And so are the marine derived proteins with a particular focus on blue mussel. Okay. Okay, this is what I forget now. Okay, so, and in addition to all the research we are putting into the proteins, we are also conducting several experiments with the blue mussels. So we conduct, for example, here many experiments directly at the platform of the Kiel Marine farm in Kiel, by the way, and we are working also with other, not just mussels from Kiel, but this was the beginning. So we are varying cultivation conditions in order to adapt, for example, the metabolism of the blue mussel, and thus then the proportional compositions and the functional properties of the biocompounds inside. And at the same time, we are just figuring out how the climate change will maybe alter this in several years. So consequently, we developed and improved the extraction strategies of so many biocompounds, proteins, fats, but other side stream compounds, and also implemented so comprehensive characterization of all these compounds. And much prettier, much more, we developed also strategies for utilizing these compounds in food, feed, but also cosmetic products. So I'm saying we all the time, and because we are a colorful team, they're here in my division working on these project goals, and we are a colorful team consisting of male and female players, and also so many students, bachelor, master students, and also assistants. And my role in this beautiful community is, besides co-leading and managing, like keeping the flow, supervising students, but also like centered on this area of food. Oh. You're like, I cannot, okay, food and non-food product development. That's, and with that I will come also to my final slide, and here I show you, you see here in the center, this homogeneated mass of meat, muscle meat, which was produced by processing this colorful muscle meat here on the top, and in order to get a good base for developing many other products. And these are two prototypes of ours we developed. I developed with many students also as human food products. And then to the other side here,
you will see a prototype of pet food pellets. We produced from many very small mussels. They are called undersized mussels. They are normally not appropriate to be marketed as seafood just due to the very small size. So that's why we found a strategy to better utilize this and not just considering them as a waste. And to the other side, we will see also some fractions we developed from the mussel shell. So to get these functional parts of the mussel shell in order to be used for cosmetic products. Yeah, and much more is also coming the next weeks. But with that, I will finish and thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Rasha. And now for our last presentation, I would welcome Julia Lange, and I will just switch the slides to yours because we have the other ones in the middle. I will give you the microphone. There you are.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. So good to see so many women here in this room. My name is Julia, and I am working at the university in Kiel as a coordinator of an innovation cluster that is looking at blue bioeconomy. So for all of those who are not familiar with blue bioeconomy, it means we are trying to build an economy that uses resources from the water. And this cluster was funding or is funding still 30 different projects with 20 million euro. And I first would like to give you a bit of an insight of where I'm coming from, and then tell you a bit of my work that then relates to all the different products that are currently developed, or the research that is going to develop new products in the blue economy. My background is biology and marine biology, and when I started, I wasn't quite sure what to do. Do I want to study rather biology or rather industrial science, like air science, space science, right? So I went to the university, the Technical University in Berlin, to do 1 semester as a tryout. And there I was one of 3 women and another 200 guys sitting in that lecture hall. That was quite an interesting, if not to say weird feeling, to be honest. But it turned out they were all very kind. So the majority of the guys were very kind. But this whole, this atmosphere was, like, I've never experienced that before. That was, let's stick to interesting. So then I decided to go rather towards biology, and throughout my studies, I had the chance to go also abroad and to also spend some time on a ship. So there I was going for 1 month on a container ship from America to South Korea. And the whole crew were all males. And surprisingly, they were also very, very kind. So I did not experience any conflicts or any behavior that wasn't appropriate. Well, it could have been that my partner at that time was the first officer, but I don't want to believe that. The crew was Philippines, from the Philippines mainly, and the captain was from Russia. And then there were some German officers as well. And then later on, when I went for supporting a PhD student in China, that was a completely different experience. So we were on a small boat with 4 other guys who brought us out to a little hut right in the coast of Beihai. It's in the very south of China, and we spent 24 hours in that little hut. So, and on the way there and back, it took several hours, and they were all doing their work, right, steering and so on and so forth. And then suddenly I noticed that no one is looking at me. Not even eye contact, no eye contact at all. And throughout this whole 2 days we spent on that little hut together with the whole crew, and they were cooking and we were taking all the samples every hour. The whole time they weren't looking at me. So I felt like being in my own social study, basically. And I assumed at that time that was also to some sort just based on respect or shyness. Not quite sure. Maybe you have some similar experience we can share later on. Well, and then I continued, and after finishing my studies, I started working at WWF, and that was great for me in the international fisheries management, because I saw the bigger picture, and I noticed during my studies I need some work that really gives me the chance to change something. And but throughout that journey, I noticed that it felt more and more difficult to accomplish certain tasks. So I was questioning myself. Right, so I can relate very much to what was said in the previous panel. What am I doing wrong? Do I maybe need to put more effort here or there? Or so what's really the matter? Why can I not keep up with the workload? And then I did this collective leadership. What is it called? Like for 1 year, an external training in collective leadership, and that one pretty much opened my eyes. So there was one aha moment in that whole year where I sat down with my colleagues, and we were all the time the same people, meeting again 4 times this year. And when I realized, okay, those tasks that I have to accomplish there in that specific work are just not my strength. So that's why it feels so difficult to accomplish everything. And I don't know why it was so eye-opening at that moment. So now I'm really happy to be now in a position where I can actually apply my strengths and to really help the network that I'm working with. And I would say we jump to the next slide to give you a bit of an insight. So our network, the Blue Bioeconomy cluster in Germany, is composed of 70 members, and we have roughly 50 companies and 20 research institutes and universities. And out of these, I tried to count, out of these 70 members, we have 5 female leads. Quite interesting. And in that team, I'm leading a team of 7 others, and we are 50-50 in males and female proportion. And in that work, we are, trying to bring out the message of the research of why blue bioeconomy is needed at all to politicians. We're trying to find the right people for the network at fairs, trying to understand the bigger picture. What are the needs of the different companies? What are the hurdles that we can address or that need to be addressed? And throughout that work, I've experienced a rather balanced amount of male and females. Yeah. So in that sense, I feel like we're quite a good example of how, is it equity or equality could look like. And I would say with that words, let's dive into the discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, Julia. These were great inputs to kind of go into more detail now. And we are a little bit behind schedule, but I do want to discuss a little bit at least. And I want to address maybe Anne and Rasha first, and maybe ask about specific challenges or obstacles that you encounter in your work for women, also leading teams. And you said, Rasha, that you have a big team with bachelors and masters and different levels of expertise and knowledge. And maybe what can you say? Are there specific things that you notice when dealing with women and men at different levels? Are there any specific competences that are different in men and women? And also, what barriers face women in this industry in general?
and how can we encourage maybe also women to become entrepreneurs or to dive into this food technology sector? And I don't know who wants to start, but
yes, I'll do it then. Thank you. Well, I think from my perspective, there are sort of two sectors that I would like to address, and the first one is sort of the house, like the office sector, and then there is the primary production, like cultivation of food. And I think there's two very different things in terms of gender. From the house perspective, as I said, we are predominantly women in house, so obviously there is not a barrier there. But I would like to mention that we had or do have an employee who was a student with us, and then she wanted to have like a permanent job, but she was kind of hesitant. And I was like, okay, you're 28, you have a boyfriend, I think you want a kid. And she was like, she felt bad about asking for a permanent position because she knew that she wanted to go on maternity leave within a limited period of time. And when I sort of realized that, she didn't tell me, but I was like, what's going on? And then I said to her, I don't know if I'm allowed, but I said, okay, if you have this concern that you have to go on leave because you're having a baby soon, please don't. We'll fix it, but we want you here because you are talented and you are competent and we like you, basically. So please do not set that barrier up for yourself. And I think that's even though we have regulation and law, so like the structures are there to not make women feel that way, but still there is the sort of the social, the ethical something going on inside people. So I think that's a barrier in sort of the office business. Turning to the cultivation side of things, this is still sort of an emerging industry in Denmark, so it's not like we have a lot of knowledge about this, but I would say that I think this regenerative cultivation in the ocean poses an opportunity to get more women into the sector, because it is a more sort of balanced approach to exploiting the natural resources of this planet that we live on. And I think that will make it more interesting for more women to join the primary production sector, that we can actually do this in a way that is not just extracting but that you can actually contribute to the sort of the balance of this planet. And I just spoke to someone I know in the regenerative agriculture sector, and she told me that in the last count it was 50-50 men and female in the regenerative agriculture school, which is very different from sort of the conventional agriculture school. So I think definitely there is sort of a value alignment with more females. So I think we will see more female coming into this industry, and I hope, but I think that poses an opportunity. I don't know if I should.
Yeah, I can just add something. Well, in our place, at our place, it's a little bit like different because, well, I'm not sure there's always there are also always differences between the sectors. So we are speaking now about academic works, for example, students. It's very different from the industry, for example. And I mean, in our division, there are like almost always more female as male. And now, I mean, currently we have a little bit, more like 40-60, for example. But I don't, just to be honest, I don't feel really like it's these differences between male and female. We always educate in to I mean focus on like expertise and learning for male and female. Our boss is female. She is supporting both. I mean, she is sending both to conferences. She tries always to keep it like balance, and that's why we don't feel really this differences in and I think it's something individually sometimes, but how to encourage them. I mean, I face this problem with both male and female sometimes, that they are not really, yeah, not so confident to start a project. For example, when they are, they have to defend their works, for example, yeah, how can I do this? Or so it's just general. There are just general problems, and I cannot really like yeah, compare based on gender. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. It is interesting, I feel like, that in some industries or in some parts, you don't really seem to feel it anymore, at least, or it's getting better and better. But then looking at the data that we also saw in the beginning, you do see that there's still a huge problem and we still have to address it very much. And sometimes it seems like people also tend to forget, if they're not in the field directly, that there's still a problem, and they don't see it just because they are not facing with it every day. And yeah, maybe coming back to the confidence part and coming back to you, Ben, you're the only man on the panel, and you started your own startup. I would be very interested to see what gave you the confidence in starting your company, kind of, and then also how do you see it from your perspective as like the male perspective we have here? Do you see these differences? Do you see inequalities in the startup business? And yeah, how would you suggest we can support women in the startup business or innovation business?
Yeah, thank you. So first, the first question, why did I start my startup? I would say it was a lot that this product is currently not on the market, and I wanted to have it on the market to at least tackle the 5 other people who want to grow spirulina and give them a farm that actually works. And it's really great that like even more than 5 people are willing to grow spirulina. And it was, I would say it was from the beginning on, we were pretty much naive because we always thought, okay, next year we're going to launch, next year was always next summer, we're done, next year we have this. But then we got the problems, and then we continued, and we still have problems all the time, but it was just like this, okay, we will just do it, let's see how far we can go. And we're still here, which is great. But it was like, yeah, we didn't have any expertise. We were really relied on people who are experts in starting companies, in getting funding, getting some grants, and so on. And that was really, really crucial. And it's really important to have also these experts at the university and to support those young people who didn't study economics, who didn't study informatics, who didn't study law or anything, but to bring this information or this knowledge into these small companies to help them grow, which is quite crucial. And I would say there are definitely still inequalities between female and male founders. And that definitely needs to be changed because there are a lot of people with great ideas. And I think one of the most important thing is that you need to encourage those people to go for their ideas. Maybe you need to show them, okay, it's really simple, just like us. Maybe next year you will launch, and like encourage them to keep on going. And I think that's one thing that's really, really crucial. So we started at the University of Kiel. There's a Zentrum for Entrepreneurship. And as I mentioned in my talk, it was really just a coincidence that I read the mails and I got knowledge about this. But then I worked there for 2 years because of our grants. We had like a table there, and I got to know like all the economics and IT sector and people who are more, I would say, easy or more closer to the startup world got introduced to the ZFE. And I still get like a lot of, I would say, bookings, but I get asked to present myself and like do like a founder encouraging talks in their programs. It's economics and it's IT, where I get asked to speak and say why founding is cool and why you should do it. And it's really great to follow your own vision and follow your own mission. But I think one crucial thing is that this is, of course, happening at economics and IT, but it should also be enlarged to other sectors such as biology, physics, all the science world, to encourage the people to start something like this. And then hopefully we don't have it that not that only male people are starting, because economics and business and IT are male-dominant programs. And hopefully, when we give those talks to biology or science world, we have an increase of female startups. And that's what I can do. So I would like really, I would put myself out there. So if anybody has professors or is a professor alongside you, I'm willing to talk to the erstis, first semesters, whatever, and just encourage them to starting your own startup, because it's really fun to have your own vision, and I would love to do that and contribute it with this, what I can do. Thank you.
Yes, Julia, you want to?
Yeah. And if I may add, so studies show that in regard to founding a business as a female, females tend to be have a higher risk aversion than males. So this could be also one of the reasons why we see less females in the founding sector. And in Germany, we have, of all businesses that were founded in 2024, only 2.6% were female. So that is quite low. Although on an international ranking, Germany is on position number 4. But I also believe that there are a lot of external factors in the countries that could support more female founding. So first place is the US with 46% female founders. Then we have India with roughly 10%, and then the UK with 6.8%. So with 2.4 or 2.6, we are actually way behind.
Yes, perfect timing, actually. That's what I wanted to come to you with now. And maybe you can talk a little bit more about the kind of, and then we have a question after that, like navigating how to go from research to like a marketable project or idea, a product. And kind of you gave the advice, Ben, to also get the knowledge from other people, from experts, and you don't have to have the knowledge for every little detail to launch your own startup, but you have to have the experts with you. But maybe you have any other advice for women or strategies that we should be aware of to navigate this.
I fully agree that the experts around you are crucial to your success. Learning from others, getting in contact with others, and that's what I also see in our network and what I try to support a lot, to bring the right people together so that rough ideas can actually be more precise or can then become a funded project, looking for different funding sources, for instance. So such networks can really support your idea and your first steps. Not reinventing the wheel, but also, as Ben just mentioned, getting more knowledge of maybe surrounding topics that are also relevant to becoming a successful entrepreneur. And regarding products, for instance, in the blue bioeconomy, I would say it's still a difficult market because the demand is not there yet where we want it to be, at least in Germany, maybe in many parts of Europe as well. Simply because algae are not so familiar to us as they are in the Asian market, for instance, in the society life. And so maybe there are similar products, maybe there are similar, pathways you could choose first, starting to think from the solution, from what is the solution you want to provide, what is the product you want to go for. So maybe you could first go for something that has a market, to then have some money built up, some safety net, basically, to then explore other options with products that are not so prominent at the moment. That is something I would advise, and networking a lot, pretty much. And I'm happy to help you with that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Julia. And maybe before we come to questions from the audience, I want to ask Tina, you work with a lot of startups already and we're in touch with a lot of different people that founded projects and organizations. From your viewpoint, were there any competencies that were, as you mentioned, different in men and women, and like what were the important ones to succeed maybe with a startup? Which competencies would you rank as like priorities to gain or to yeah master to succeed?
Yes, so I think already also what we heard a bit before, getting out there, starting something, but at the same time, don't lose the like, yeah, don't forget also to check in with others, to get advice. Like for example, what I mentioned a bit before is that that I got the feeling that the women that were starting a startup would usually be a bit more also looking into the details and considering maybe other things. So maybe bringing both these things together and finding a balance is quite important, I would say. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Now I saw there was a question. I will give the microphone to you.
Thank you. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Helena Vieira. I'm the coordinator of WIN-BIG, and I have a question to Ben. And I'm sorry if I'm going to put you on the spotlight here, but I have to take advantage of having a male founder in the panel. And my question is, Ben, have you ever considered the female perspective on your own business and your go-to-market strategy? And the reason I'm asking this is because you have a home product that it's supposed to be grown at home in the kitchen to be used in food prep. I use spirulina powder myself, and I can be quite creative with it. Actually, one point to you, I do a sangria of spirulina and the spumante, so champagne. That it's quite successful. Okay, so this is a subject. So have you ever considered the female perspective on your own go-to-market strategy, because it might bring you some actually niche entry points that you, as a guy, probably didn't see it there. So yeah.
Okay, I will let you answer first, and then I will give the word to our next question.
So sangria sounds really interesting. We mostly do spirulina gin tonic. Like we also. Yeah, the go-to-market strategy is essential, of course, to sell the product. And we found that from the 200 farms we sold now, more than 60% were females. And that's why I'm really, really happy to have also Sarah on the team, who does marketing and communication. So she really has like the insights, and that's why I think it's really, really crucial to have a diverse team, to have different points and different styles on looking at things. And this is, yeah, mostly the thing we're working on currently.
Thank you. I'm Farah Obaidullah from The Ocean and Us. It's just a question really, because, we're talking about why there's so few women in startups and so forth. But a statistic that I often read is that less than 2% of funding from venture capitalists actually goes to women-led, startups and companies. So apart from sort of incentivizing people, women to come, to start their own company, we also need to look at, the money flows and who is willing to fund and to support and scale up women-led companies.
Okay, I saw Julia, you had your hand up for another question there, but who wants to answer? Who wants to step in?
That question is for me difficult to answer, to be honest, because I know from studies that have looked at who do you trust more when you have such an idea in front of you. They use two different groups and put an example. They proposed an example to both groups. In one case, it was a female, and in the other case, it was a male who were presenting the business idea to that group. And then the group was asked, okay, so would you trust that person to do the job, and would you support them? And yeah, interestingly and sadly enough, there was more trust given towards the male than to the female. And so in that sense, I'm not quite sure, if that underlying way of how we are raised, how we absorb our environment while growing up without, unconsciously picking up on those, I don't know, feelings, decisions, pictures in mind that lead then to such decisions. Not quite sure if any of you has some more thoughts on that. Who's investing?
I mean, this shows us also that this is a social issue, I think, because it's also our responsibility as community also, and to support this movement, like also females are capable also to lead, to start with companies, with new things, to lead, to achieve goals. And I think this, because somebody said like earlier today, female has also chosen the male one. Yeah, somebody I just heard today. So this is not just something males are doing against us. It's something really bigger, like as a society. So we have to all work on this, all give really confidence, and maybe just start something. And also, like, small things can also do or can change. So maybe just now, for encouraging myself, you all who are thinking for a long time now to start something they love, just to do this. So I think, yeah, this is really our responsibility, all of us.
Yes, I think it's a very, very important thing what was just mentioned, and we have to acknowledge that most of the time it's not intrinsic thinking, but internalized thinking, and how we grow up, how we are socialized, and that it's maybe also important.
Because I feel like we're doing it right now in these panel discussions. A lot of the tips that we're providing is we should be more like men. We need to be braver. We need to take more space. We need to be less risk averse.
I feel like this was also a perfect ending to our discussion. And thank you very much for joining us here in Kiel today. And I will give the word now to Mariana again. Thank you.
Okay, I know that the smell of the food started to enter through the door. That's why I closed it, not because of the noise. So, but please bear with me. We are on the last panel, and then we'll jump to lunch at 1, I promise. So for this, I want to invite, while the presentation comes up, I want to invite Mette, Luisa, Agne, and Cornelia to the podium, please. This panel will be focused on citizen engagement, on empowering communities, and amplifying women's leadership. We also had Christina Hardwick from Killer Mares Farm, but unfortunately she got very sick, fever and all that, so she won't be able to join. But yeah, perfect. Yes, I should actually just introduce myself as well. I never did that. You've been hearing my voice for a while, but I'm Mariana Matalara, also working for Submariner Network. Been 10 years in project management, have a background on coastal management and environmental policy, and originally from Mexico, but for the last 12 years here in Europe. And yeah, this is my favorite project of all those I managed for obvious reasons. And without further ado, I think I'll just pass the microphone to the wonderful panelists we have here. So Mette, I'll give it to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored to be asked to join a panel. Just a short introduction of me. I'm a CEO in a small consulting company in Blue Research. We're actually just two, so we're both CEOs. It's me and my husband. We're both marine biologists, and my husband has been working in this field for over 30 years. I've been working in this field only for the last 2 years because as a marine biologist, way back, I thought it was a difficult field to go into when I first finished my master's. So I went into another working field, which was about communication and educating nature guides in Denmark. So I've been doing that for the last 20 years. And then at a certain point, I got the courage to say, I should not be employed by others. I could be my own employer. So I went into the company that my husband started, and we are now carrying out different consultancy works. We work mostly on marine restoration projects, and we work with mussel farms, aquaculture, eelgrass restoration, and so on. But we also, due to my former experience, work a lot with communication and training of nature guides. So I'm still in that field. And I feel that when talking about blue economy, that communication and public awareness and educating people to tell the stories are very important. And then just to share one experience, because I was very, agree with the last person on the panel about that maybe sometimes we are our own worst enemy. Yes, thank you. I have this experience of being at meetings where there's men and women sitting around the table, and a glass tips over with water or coffee or whatever. And just imagine, who is it that jumps up from the chair to wipe the table? It's the women. Mostly the women. And I think sometimes we should be able, as women in that context, to sit on our hands and wait just a little bit to make others also to jump up and wipe the tables. So we are in some ways our own worst enemies when we are talking about gender and equity. Yeah, this slide shows some of the arguments for why citizen engagement in blue economy is important. There should be transparency and a public dialogue. We should be able to invite the public and the local persons to be able to to have a say and to ask questions and to ask for more knowledge about what's going on in the sea, because very often it's hidden. Nobody really knows, or where should they know from what's going on if you look out on the waters. Then there should be this local community involvement, how to involve people and actually give them the ability to speak up and make and work with the influence. And then there should be the education and awareness. And just examples of how we've been working with it in a project that I'm part in. It's called the Baltic Muppets, and it's about mussel production in the Baltic countries. And here we have been working with how can we visualize and how can we personalize the people working with the production of mussels in the Limfjord. And what we've been thinking, this is just a mock-up of what we're going to do, but we are going to make some really big posters showing what people can't see, but this is the mussel productions, the nets, and we've been working also with the anchors that keeps the mussel production, the nets at the seabed, and how can we work with sort of them enhancing biodiversity. We've been working with personalizing who is the people working out at the boats, so you could get familiar with them. Then we have been working with cooking food together, making food classes, or making local activities where people prepare mussels. And when doing that, we try to facilitate the dialogue, the internal dialogue with the participants, and give them some questions that they can talk about together. So instead of just chopping the onions and the carrots and preparing the mussels, we sort of use this as a platform for where they can actually have a dialogue about maybe their concerns or their feelings on the different matters. And then last of all, we have produced a podcast about mussel production and sort of, yeah, this is AI, our new religion. But making a podcast, which the first part was a podcast meeting the producers, and the second podcast was on all the conflicts and all the communication that has been around mussel production in Denmark. Yeah, thank you. I think this was all for now.
Thank you very much. Okay, and now I'll give the word to Luisa. I'll let you introduce yourself as well, and here you can change the slide.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me here. It's been very inspiring already so far. It's been really cool to hear from so many women, and especially women in the field and their experiences, and it really makes you feel a little bit less alone. Quickly about me, I started this year working as a PhD candidate in Norway, in Trondheim, in the field of marine biogeochemistry. And I always feel a little bit torn between my love for research and learning. It's such a privilege to spend so much time reading and acquiring all this knowledge, because it's really just pure joy, but also about how we make our research and science in general more impactful. And I think a huge part of that is connecting science and society, because we've built these walls between the general society and research and try to distinguish ourselves from that. Although, especially I think the oceans belong to everyone and should be shared with everyone. And one such example that I'm also working with in my PhD is Sailing for Science, who I'm representing today. So there were actually 2 cruises that are sort of connected to my PhD. And Sailing for Science is a concept at the time. And it's a network of scientists and sailors, and they're collaborating on different sailing vessels to observe the ocean and collect data together, so building capacity together. And I've been on the boat Rimfare, which is, you can see here, and that's the flagship for Sailing for Science. The general idea of Sailing for Science is to create awareness on board, but also when we go to ports and marinas, we most of the time pitch a tent, bring all the equipment that we're using. We invite people on the boat to give them some insights on what we're doing, because a lot of people are interesting, but it's always very removed from society in general. And we want to share our insights and try to inspire people to connect with the ocean, maybe adopt a more ocean-related lifestyle, and also build an exchange capacity with countries and institutions that don't have the access to the same resources. I think a lot of people here know that doing anything in the marine field is incredibly expensive. It's super hard to do. We're constantly fighting for resources. They're not fairly distributed. It's very hard to access. We heard before from Eva that it's hard to get on the research boat because, yeah, it's expensive, and who gets it in the end? And Sailing for Science is trying to do this bottom-up approach. We're trying to make it more accessible to early career scientists, citizen scientists, people who have an idea and just need a boat to go out. We're also collaborating with institutions in lower-income countries because doing ocean research, again, very expensive, and sometimes you read about this fancy new technology, but it's super inaccessible, and there's actually some frugal approaches that can achieve very similar effects. So we're trying to make it a bit more democratic and a bit more accessible for everyone. And yeah, I just wanted to share some impressions from this year and some of the amazing people who are involved. And I want to point out my PhD supervisor, Murat, whose brainchild this has been, and he's been doing this for 8 years, going different places on sailboats, coming up with very low-tech ideas, connecting people from different institutions, working together with local fishermen, for example, in Ghana, going on their boats, exchanging knowledge, which is super amazing. And Martin and Björn from Rimfare, who have become my little boat family and have created also this opportunity for me to come on the boat, bring my project, bring my ideas as a very early career scientist. And I'm very thankful to them. I will also...
Thank you so much. Did you take the... Yes. There we go. So Agne, I'll give the word to you now. Let's hope the video works. We'll try.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm filmmaker from Lithuania, and I'm really happy that I came here. Thank you for inviting me here. So many nice people, women, and a lot of inspiration for my future film. My film now is in production, and I would love to tell more about it. So, what's this? Like that? Yeah. So my film is based on one story about the expedition around the Baltic Sea. Giedrius Bučas and team of 10 people, they embarked on a journey around Baltic Sea. It was hiking expedition, and finally they made it. It was in last year, 2024. Of course, not all people came back to Lithuania. Some of them left their mission along the way, but it was a very interesting story, and I have a lot of video from 4 first months. Then I also, me and professional team, we joined it and we filmed them. And later, this year, I will tell. So maybe let's meet some characters of the film. Play like this. I made something. Sorry. So I think that uh, I want to bring a lot of emotions with this film and also information. I think, as it was told, that education is very important, and only education can change people. So this year, because Giedrius Bučas and his team, they made a lot of relationship with scientists and some people who fights for cleaner Baltic Sea around all the way, not only from Lithuania. So this time I started to go to visit their contacts and to explore more about their work. And also it is important to get this access, because not everyone can sit in and go in on a boat and go for field restoration, for instance, in Archipelago Sea. So this year I already managed to go to Archipelago Sea, and I would love to show one more video, maybe not the whole piece because I want to save our time, but yeah, I think so.
I was told to stop it there. It's not me.
Okay, so all these things was quite wonderful, and for me it was very surprising. And even when I saw this footage, how they plant these plants under the water, it made me almost crying. So these are emotions, and I want to bring a lot of the most fresh knowledges about our Baltic Sea, and this year I working on that. Also, in our film, it has to be also topic about blue economy, I think, and yeah, so it is very good that today I'm here because I can find the right people to tell the story also. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now our last speaker, Cornelia, I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'll talk in a little bit of an impromptu manner. Actually, I trained here in Kiel. I was the first woman being admitted to the scientific diving group. It was a big fight to get on. It was a big fight not to do the practical part of the studies in a fish factory, but go onto a research vessel. And, you know, several other things that made me initially act almost more like a man. And when I then worked after my PhD in international organizations, and more in relation to real life problems, economic, social problems, I learned that yes, the technical knowledge I had acquired during the study was very important, but that it requires more to really bring something in addition. And that, let's say, social sensitivity is very, very important, so that, as we have also heard, we are not only carried away by the necessary engineering knowledge and things like that, but that we need a blend. Without going very much into my personal career path, I would like to say a couple of words on where I'm now and why I think it is so super important to work in civil society organizations and create public transparency and engagement for the ocean. We are talking here now with a focus on the Baltic, And we've just witnessed the decision of the ministers, the European ministers in charge of fisheries, to give quota for fish meal production of heavily overfished species. And that is probably the death knell of the entire ecosystem. And I think it is an absolute scandal that public officials make decisions for political expediency that are breaking the law. Because we have advanced laws in Europe that we are the only region in the world that prohibits overfishing legally. It is prohibited by the law, but the laws are not enforced. And the member states actually do the very opposite of what is being, with their participation, agreed and decided in Brussels. I think we have a system right now that for which we all pay in Europe and elsewhere. Why? Because we used to produce 10 million tons of fish per year, roughly. We're now down. We had peak catches in the end 70s. All the, let's say, the dividend, the war dividend, when fishing was reduced during Second World War, was eaten up by the military technology that was deployed in re-industrialized fisheries. That dividend, that war dividend was finished by the early 60s already. In Europe as a whole, we had peak catches in 70s. Now we're down to 3 million tons. And we're being told officially, oh, how wonderful our management is. It is a scandal, actually. We have no good management whatsoever. And if we do not put regeneration of the ocean at the very top of our agenda, and we finance not more exploitation, but we finance a transition that allows people to be less extractive and enjoy and favor and promote life, and a rebuilding of the biomasses and the productivity of the ecosystems, we will go down. What does it mean further down? What does it mean? We're going to get the fish from other people in other parts of the world, because we are already importing more than 70% of what we eat. Much of which, about the estimates right now, are that more than 25%, perhaps as much as 40%, are the source of illegal fishing and illegal practices of all kinds. This is not peanuts. This is a major problem. And my organization, which I founded in 2010, assuming that, well, when I retire, I want to give back some to society of the good opportunities, professional and personal, I've had during my career. So we founded with other like-minded people a volunteering organization, which is called Mundus Maris. And we have professional backgrounds, most of us, either in science or so, but we see that unless we share more of the science and we engage more citizens in what is happening, all those citizens who don't care right now because they don't know will pay the price. We're already paying it. In Europe, we are still privileged, but in other countries, it's not the case. We have worked a lot because we have members there in Senegal and elsewhere, in Africa and elsewhere. And I can tell you that the fish meal that feeds the Norwegian salmon and some of the other carnivorous species also in Germany and elsewhere are coming partially from the tables, the food. They are from West Africa, from Peru, Chile, other places. But for West Africa, where there is a strong tradition of eating fish and relying on fish for complete diets. We now, when we work with women there as well, for example, in a network that is called the Réseau des Femmes de la Pêche au Sénégal, REFEPAS, and we are now faced with a situation where it's either people eating locally, low-cost food, or it's being reduced to fish meal to produce luxury feeds. I think we need to make more people aware of that, and that we really have other options. The more we run down the ocean, and nowadays, according to the very, very conservative estimates of the FAO, where I've worked years ago, let's say about 40% of the resources are unsustainably exploited. That is a very conservative estimate, because the super technology we have that allows us to catch literally any part of the ocean down into the deep as well, is just, let's say, leaving no chance to the ocean to regenerate. If we manage to implement the BBNJ, that is the implementing agreement under the law of the under the law of the sea, to protect the areas beyond national jurisdiction, this is for short BBNJ, that will enter into force in January. That is a fantastic chance to possibly, if it's implemented, not with paper parks, but for real, then there is a chance to start regenerating and at least approaching the goal internationally we have all set for ourselves, the 30 by 30, to rehabilitate or protect 30% of the ocean by 2030. In Europe, we have almost only paper parks. Nominally, we protect 12%, but it's a joke. There is just about 1% that is seriously protected. What does it mean? It means that if we do not protect seriously, but we allow bottom trawling in protected areas, do you imagine? It's just crazy. But it means the benefits of protection will not be visible. People will not see why it makes sense. If we do not get over this thing now they want to, in the Baltic, they want to kill all the cormorants. Why? Because they eat our fish. Thank you very much. How dare we, as one species, to claim that everything is only for us, not for anything else? You know, we are one species, there are millions of species. We already claim more than 30% of everything that exists on biodiversity and everything. And there is a study that was published 5 years ago already that made a global balance, and it showed that there is more human artifacts on the planet than life. In terms of the animal biomass, the estimate is that we have 4 gigatons of animal, including humans, dry weight, and 8 billion tons, 8 gigatons of plastics and other things. And for vegetable materials, we have 900 gigatons, and 1.2, whatever comes after gigatons of, let's say, cement and all kinds of, let's say, construction materials, etc., etc. So we are pushing life back. And where will it end? It already starts to affect us. And I think, so it's important that all of us, we share more widely the knowledge we have, and we make the science better available. My science head now is I'm the board chair of an organization in the Philippines that maintains the global biodiversity databases, fish base, all fish in the world, more than 30,000 species, and sea life base, everything that is not a fish but lives in the ocean. And aqua maps to map out the biogeography and what the likely scenarios of distribution will be in 2050 or so, considering the climate considerations. But to have that, and fish base is being utilized by 700,000 people per month, sorry. It's one of the most influential things, but we see that people, let's say, all the top research teams use it extensively, but many of the ordinary citizens, because they lack the knowledge to use also the analytical routines that are offered, etc., have a relatively shallow use. So Mundus Maris has developed a fish-based app that extracts only key information out of this mass of fish base and puts it at your disposal. It tells you, you can question it with any common name of a fish, any language, anywhere in the world, and it will tell you, if the science knows it, it will tell you the minimum size of the fish so that it starts reproducing. Why is that important? That it is because if we let the fish reproduce, we will have fish forever. And right now we have massive catches of juvenile fish, juvenile mussels, juvenile anything that goes into industrial products and undermines the very basis of life. So it's very easy. You can all have it if you have an Android phone. It's free of charge because we believe that the knowledge of humanity should be freely available. But yeah, so I think I better stop here. There is a few more things to be said, but that is perhaps a little bit of food for thought for our conversation already. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have some questions prepared, but because of time, maybe I would like to give you the opportunity to ask if you have any questions for our panelists. Okay, I'll go here.
I just wanted to say how inspiring and touching was to hear how all of you are so passionate about bringing awareness and education around the sea as a resource. I'm from Ireland and I'm representing Bordy Square, that's Irish for Ireland Seafood Development Agency, and my day-to-day role is talking to younger students about aquaculture and marine biology in Irish waters. And just an open question to the panel, would you have any advice on how to get the younger students excited about the sea and just how to translate that passion into the everyday talks? Thanks.
I think one important thing is to activate them. So not just tell them the facts and all the numbers and all the knowledge, but to actually activate them and let them do hands-on activity. Let them taste, let them smell, let them use all their senses, because in that way we remember and we we learn better if we are taught in that way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this immersive experience is super helpful because, I mean, I know a lot of people who have never been snorkeling, for example, or never been on a boat, and they're like, they don't know what it looks like underwater. They don't even know what land looks like from the other perspective, from the sea. So if you have the resources to take them to the coast and explain a little bit, and then I think it's also about this human perspective and this connectiveness, because I think we all started, or I hope we all started doing this because it brings us joy, and this we have this fascination, and in the end it's so much fun to share a fascination, and that's what people will remember when you're like really passionate about something. They're like, oh my God, this was so fun, so cool. Yeah, I think also we all have to practice maybe our storytelling, especially in academia. We're trained to be so objective and impersonal. We don't even use I or we when we write, and we don't even have an opinion, really, I think. And there's definitely no connectedness to any emotion. So I think it's so hard to do, and we're never trained. We're not even trained to write academically. You just read a bunch of shitty papers, become a shitty writer. Yeah. But we can get better. And I think maybe collaborating with people who are really good at storytelling and like, yeah, making movies, making art, writing from an emotional perspective could be really, really good.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Helena. Sorry, Farah was.
Thank you, Faro, Baidla, The Ocean and Us. I just wanted to say that my line of work is very much aligned with Cornelia in ocean conservation, but I just want to emphasize why, because that's why we're here, why the feminine perspective, why we cannot lose sight of that, because the ocean is shared. The BBNJ treaty that Cornelia was referring to, that concerns half our planet. Yeah, the areas beyond national jurisdiction is half our planet. It's our shared heritage, and only a collective, collaborative approach to protecting that area, which is, in line with the feminine perspective, the feminine approach, is going to get us to ensuring a successful implementation of this agreement. And so, also coming back to the comment that was made earlier, that we cannot lose sight of who we are. We're women. We bring certain characteristics to discussions, and we have to hold that when we negotiate, the future of our global commons, our shared heritage. I just wanted to emphasize that. Thank you.
Thank you also for the interesting stories that you shared. I have a question that you work in citizen engagement and citizen science. Do you feel that it's important, or how do you, let me put it in a different way, how do you feel that the youngest generations deal with having more male role models in certain areas than having female role models? So if they have more, female role models, we see this a lot in space. Now you have these women astronaut and they are role models, but when we speak about aquanauts, we don't have many women to share, except for maybe Sylvia Earle or something like that, right? So maybe, how do you feel your community is reacting to the lack of, or the small scale presence of, female blue economy role models? And hopefully WIN-BIG can help change that as well.
I was going to say that now we have our women ocean champions. Who wants to reply to that?
But as a matter of fact, if you look at the conservation community, is mostly women. I think it's no surprise. It's really the healing, the caring, all the rehabilitation work that needs to be done, and it's. And actually, we should take some hope from, and perhaps also use, as we were saying before, looking for emotional engagement of more people. Well, one way to promote that is perhaps watching Sir Attenborough's film Ocean, which is not an anti-fishery film, even though it shows the horrible destruction it dishes out for the ocean. But it also shows how extraordinary is the capacity to regenerate and to rebuild if we only leave it alone and we nurture some of this capacity. So yes, I think I would also say perhaps in getting to more engagement, and is through, for example, having more interaction with ordinary citizens, with schools, with educational outfits, At the moment, we've been asked, for example, by UNESCO to develop a teaching kit for teachers to operationalize a role play we have developed after, let's say, interviewing lots of people about how to make marine protected area work, so that we get over the paper park and we relearn also to dialogue respectfully with one another, to listen more carefully. And this is something I think men and women are benefiting from that. If we practice it more, we watch perhaps a little bit less our mobile phones and watch each other and try and build a common understanding, because that is and building some trust, because without trust, I think you cannot have good leadership and you cannot have this capacity to rally more people into collective action. We can do it, but I think we need to pay more attention to these modes of interacting with one another in respectful dialogue, and retrain that, because, and it ties in with the storytelling, right? It's a good way of learning things, and then when we do low-key steps, we gain the confidence of doing something more ambitious. And perhaps one last word, I hope I'm not monopolizing the conversation too much, but I think it is super, super important to make the link between the wonderful international agreements we have and the local realities. I think many of the problems we have are down to the fact that the principles are not being broken down to in an adapted way to meet the local realities and build on the capacity of the locals. No, there is not one solution. There are millions of solutions, and to make it locally stick, where people can feel the reconnection and that they have agency. We were at UNOC, the United Nations Ocean Conference in Nice, and we had lots of conversations. But at the end of almost every conversation was that people said, well, we are impotent, we cannot really do it. And we kept saying, well, this is a blank check for destruction. If we think we can do it, who will do it? So these dialogue forms, storytelling, and action. I think this is the learn curves we all need to go onto. And I think we can do lots of things. As we see by the many local examples, they actually add up. And the future, for example, on fisheries, should normally be small-scale fishers who double up as tourist guides to explain the ocean to all the urbanized people who have lost the context, etc., etc. But I think paying attention to how we manage the transition from destruction to regeneration and harness what women bring more easily to the table than men, this caring attitudes. I think we can make it, actually. Thank you. Well, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to connect what you said with the youngest generation, how they deal with the role models. During the cruise this summer, we stopped in a lot of ports, and there were also a lot of kids, because most of the time they're curious and they're like, what's that machine, or what does this thing do? But even when they're small, I would say that most of the kids that said they were boys, they were a bit more open, bit more curious, bit more, they just ask their questions, because we still tell girls to be quiet and to be pleasing and to fit in that little box. And I think maybe we're going the right direction, but it's still this thing. They're very quiet. They listen. They're super attentive. They soak up everything, but they don't feel like they should ask questions. And I think we need to change that, because then also in school, I felt the same way. You're like, they squeeze out the creativity and they also make you only fill in the gaps. Then you're in university and you're supposed to be inquiring and ask questions. You're like, I didn't learn this. How am I supposed to ask these questions? I was never allowed to. And it starts very early. So girls are like, I was the only woman on the board while I was there. They're like, this is fantastic. I didn't know we could do this. And boys are a bit like, I didn't know you could do this. Sort of, yeah. But yeah, and be more encouraging and tell girls not to be quiet and not fit in the box. Be themselves.
Thank you for the question. I revised my contacts. Now I'm working with scientists and for my film, and more contacts is from women. Women will be the majority in the film, I think. But it is naturally. I didn't make anything special. But I noticed that women are very active in this whole subject.
Thank you very much. Okay, one last question and then we really need to close.
Yeah, I'll keep it very short. My name is Ida. I'm working on a project about women in aquaculture and how to encourage more women to join this sector. But I actually have a background I have a PhD in literature and gender studies. So I maybe have a bit of a different perspective. And I very much agree with what being said about storytelling. I think this is such an important tool also in relation to how to get younger girls, younger women to join the blue economy is by telling stories, making it possible, because once you see a story about something, you see that it's a possibility and you reflect yourself in it. So I think telling stories, engaging with citizens, children, I think is such an important tool, both in spreading awareness about what's going on with the ocean, but also in encouraging young women to join the blue economy and to see what's possible as career paths for them. So I would ask a question, but I think maybe we need to wrap it up. But I just wanted to add that perspective.
Thank you very much. And we will also have more time now during lunch to keep the discussions going. But before thanking our panelists, I just wanted to add to the question Elena did, role models are also in the day-to-day people we have around, I believe. They don't have to reach National Geographic or space to be inspiring. And that's what we're trying to do with the Women Ocean Champions. And I think that's what we're going to see also later in the afternoon with the film Women from the Sea. So I invite you to stay for that. It starts at 5:30. We will go for lunch, but also we'll leave this up. It would be very useful for us as a project to have your feedback on the conference, on the topics, on the discussion, on the panelists, and so on. So I will leave these on the screen. I also invite you to stay because after lunch we have the first two learning labs, which are going to be quite interesting. First on intellectual property with Melanie, and then on the negotiation game. So again, bringing this communication and how to, be on the table probably male dominated. And we will go for lunch. But before, please, a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much for joining.